to the First In podcast. Hello, Gino.
Hey, what's up, Keith? Welcome back, everybody.
How are you this week?
Good, man.
Can't miss it. We got our guest in studio here this week, Donald Brucker. He's the Chief Deputy Fire Marshal in Allegheny County.
What's happening? What's happening?
What up, man?
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on.
Glad to have you, brother.
So, what's new with you, Gino? Anything? How's the new car running?
Where do I begin?
New puppy.
We got a new puppy.
There you go.
Puppy, so much, man.
How's the new Lincoln?
The new Lincoln is nice. Oh, that's what I did today, Keith. I washed the 71. I washed Sanchez to take her to
Sanchez.
first car show tomorrow. So
Really? Where at?
my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, she had a group of friends, and they all had like kind of fixed up cars and stuff and everything. And every week they would all get together at this car show out on 88, right outside of Finleyville at a church parking lot. And Michelle and I tomorrow we haven't gone yet, and we really haven't seen her group of friends. So we're going to go out tomorrow. So I
Cool.
spent that morning washing Sanchez up there.
Well, hopefully the weather's like it is today.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be. So yeah.
All right. All right, so welcome Mariah Murphy. She's our first guest here. We're going to discuss our therapy dogs. Hello, Mariah. How are you?
Oh, good. How are you guys?
Doing well. So let me throw some video in the background here. So Mariah has a therapy dog, and it is just getting certified. Did you have your third visit yet?
No, we go in 2 weeks.
So yeah, she had to do 3 supervised visits with the therapy dog, and she reached out to us, and she came down to our station last week in Pleasant Hills, and I'll throw some video of that up while we're talking here. So good. Tell us about your dog.
Okay, so the big white fluff ball you see there was Buddy. He is mine. He was a rescue. I rescued him a year ago, and he had amazing temperament, and so I knew he'd be great for therapy work. So for Alliance of Therapy Dogs, which is the organization that I go through for therapy work, because I also have a retired therapy dog. Her name is Chloe. She's almost 13 years old now. So we go through Alliance of Therapy Dogs. So Buddy has passed his test. We have passed, I would say we passed our test because it's a handler and a dog test. And then after that, they require 3 supervised visits before you can go work on your own. So the other team you see there with us is Cece, the handler, and her dog Fergus. And Fergus is a veteran therapy dog. He is amazing. He's assisted me many times while I work with trauma groups. I am an LPC, and so I run trauma groups, and Fergus and Cece will come accompany me and be my therapy dog team for animal assisted therapy. So Buddy is finishing up his certification so that he can work with me in practice as well.
Nice. So tell us a story about Buddy, how you got Buddy.
So I knew that Chloe was getting older, and I knew that I was going to want another therapy dog, and I love to rescue. And so I was going through rescue sites, and when I saw him, I was like, oh, that's the one. I know that's the one. So Buddy came from a rescue up north. He was bred on a farm with breeders up north, and I think they probably kept him to be a stud. But Buddy had an affinity for chasing deer. So once he, became too mischievous for them to handle, they wanted to shoot him and put him down.
Wow.
Someone caught wind of it, took him to the rescue, and there I found him at 15 months old. He had never lived in a house. He had no leash manners. He was scared of his own shadow, really. Scared of men because he had been abused. But he had this amazing temperament. And you can train anything, but you can't teach temperament. So I was like, nope, we can do that. We can definitely do that. So we brought him home, and the first few months were just making sure he felt safe and loved and comfortable. And the training came so very easily after that.
How did you get him over the fear of men, you said? Because obviously I didn't see any of that the other day when he was down the fire station.
No, you would never know. First, a bond with me, making sure that he knew like that I was a safe place and that I would never put him in harm's way. So after we established that bond, it was exposure, exposure, exposure. I'm very fortunate to be a part of a gym community that allowed me to bring him with me as a practice training ground with lots of people, lots of men, lots of loud noises, lots of socialization in the neighborhood. He is very much the bus stop dog in this neighborhood, to send the kids off and get the kids off of the bus. Continuous, like out anywhere, Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever we can take him. Socialization was really key.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about, what you do with the dogs and what kind of reaction you get from them and how's it help people?
Yeah. Okay. So there's two parts to it. With therapy dog teams can go and volunteer different places, firehouses, schools, nursing homes, things like that. And I, in my profession, have opted to use therapy dogs as an intervention. So we call that animal assisted therapy. And so I specialize in trauma and the treatment of trauma, and I run trauma groups, specifically complex trauma. And so I will bring a therapy dog team into my groups, and I will implement the dog and use the dog in intervention. So at first, therapy dogs are amazing for building rapport in groups. Very infrequently are people thrilled to come to group to work on trauma. It's not a fun subject. When you put a dog in there, you get a couple different things. Number one, you get increased interest, you get engagement, you get a commonality. So you have a group of individuals who might not particularly want to be there. They now have a common focus. And whereas it might take longer to build rapport and a bond with the therapist, it's much faster with the dog. And so the dog serves as a building block to rapport to the therapist and then to the treatment.
Wow.
You ever tell me, sometimes people actually just talk to the dogs like the dog is the therapist.
Yes. I have had, many times where instead of disclosure to the therapist or disclosure to group members, the disclosure is made to the dog. And it is such a wonderful modality because there is a trust there that is sometimes very difficult with people, but not difficult to build with the dog. So then you get the conversation, the engagement, the communication, the verbal release that you might not get if you didn't have the dog in that group.
I won't lie. Some of the best conversations I've ever had in my life have been with my dog.
Yeah.
No doubt about
Right?
that.
Yes.
So we were asking too the other day, when you have your dog out interacting with a lot of people, a lot of emotional situations, do you notice any effect on the dog?
So one of the most important things for handlers, especially handlers who are going to be working with their dogs in high stress situations, is to know your dog's signs of when they're getting stressed and when they're getting fatigued. So some dogs will be excess panting. Some dogs will start to show disinterest. Some dogs will start to look for an exit. So it's really important that the handler is in tune with their animal. Additionally, when you have maybe a therapist working in practice with their animal, you need to make sure that you are scheduling your animal breaks just as you would a person. You need to make sure that you are meeting their basic needs just as you would a person before they go to work. Now, I have always asked my dogs, both Chloe and Buddy, before we go on a work outing, on a visit, do you want to go to work? Do you want to go to work? Because I think it's important to ask your animal, like, are you up for this today? Do you want to do this? And some people think that's so silly, but I think it's so important.
So I know you're just getting to start with Buddy, but when, past experience with Chloe, what kind of effect do you see on people when they, you bring the dog in, especially after like some type of devastating thing going on and then want to bring the dog in to get some therapy? What kind of effect do you see on other people?
Yeah, there is almost an immediate lift in maybe a high stress situation when you bring a dog in, right? Spirits are lifted a little bit. people have something positive and hopeful, you know, to look towards. Cece, who you saw in that video, her and her dog Fergus do, I call it like one step above therapy work, is crisis response work. And they're a part of a program called Hope that does crisis response. And they responded to many a disaster, including the fires out in California. And she always says, you know, I can't rebuild your home. I can't replace what you've lost. But I can bring my dog and give you a moment of reprieve and a moment of normalcy and a moment of gentleness.
Yeah, definitely. Just the other day down the fire station, as soon as you guys came in, everybody circled around and couldn't wait to get to the dog and start petting them. That's pretty neat to see. So what kind of, like, give me some examples where you'd bring a therapy dog in, and like what are they typically used for? What kind of scenarios or situations?
So many different. In my own experience, I really like to use therapy dogs in group settings, individual too for sure, but group settings, just because groups can be tricky and dynamics can be tricky. It gives a center focus, it gives an engagement, and it's really fun to explore difficult topics in the context of an animal, right? So maybe we're talking about, one of the things I teach before addressing trauma are called DBT skills, because I think you should have a skill set to deal with the things that are come up before you address the trauma, right? So when we're teaching skills, maybe I'm teaching the skill of mindfulness, and we're going through like awareness in your body and like where you're feeling things. It's much more engaging and it's less anxiety provoking for someone to go identify, where do you think that dog feels anger? Where do you think that dog feels sadness? Like where on the dog? Go pet the part on the dog or go touch the part on the dog. Like where do you think they hold those things? It's like a much better engagement. I've done social skills groups with little kids, and especially Chloe was very, very good at the elementary age, and we did that a lot. And we would practice social skills. And sometimes it's easier for children who have high anxiety, who are really hesitant, to practice their communication that they just learned with the dog and not with the person first. We practice with the dog first. And in that same realm, dogs are used for like, reading interventions. So therapy dogs are used for reading interventions a lot. It is much easier for a hesitant child to read to a dog than to a person, because the dog's not going to judge you. The dog's not going to judge your mistakes, and they're not going to say anything about it. They're just going to sit there with non-judgment and love.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, again, just getting started with Buddy, but Chloe, before, is there any, either with Buddy or Chloe, have you any experiences that really stick out in your mind that you brought the dog in and you really saw a positive impact?
Yeah, a couple. And even with working with other therapy dog teams that I would bring in to run complex trauma groups, you know, I would have volunteer groups with that. There was one student I had that there was a conversation that he really needed to have with his father, and he could not bring himself to do it. But what he could bring himself to do is to go quietly, privately, without me, without any other students, and say all of the things that he held and needed to say to his father to the dog. That was one of the most impactful things I have ever seen, and that I've ever gotten feedback from. I had a student once who was so dreadfully fearful of dogs, and I mean, a very, very, very deep fear. And we started small by like, okay, the dog's in that room and you can see the dog. And this particular student had a lot of anxiety and fear around other things. So we started building rapport with the dog, because I thought, hey, if we can get like some of these fears diminished in one area, then he can build confidence and know that like he can tackle things in other areas. So we started with, you know, the dog in another room this session. And then the dog was in sight. And then they were in the same room, but I built a barrier. So the student was over here and the dog was over here. So he could see the dog in the same room with the dog. The dog couldn't get to him and he couldn't get to the dog, and gradually remove the barrier. And then we would bring the student closer. And he, after a couple months of this, became one of the students that would say, Miss Mariah, when's Fergus coming back? When's Fergus coming back? Miss Mariah, is Fergus coming back yet? And would be the most engaged with that dog. So to see like a goal met, of fears overcome, of relationships built, that was really cool to see too.
Well, so also I know there's patient, I guess what's the patient
Confidentiality.
Confidentiality. I guess that applies to dogs. They can't be forced to testify, right?
Absolutely not.
All right.
Absolutely not.
So
You know, dogs just like me, you'll have to subpoena me, and good luck once you subpoena Buddy, because I don't
He
know
ain't
how much you're
talking.
going to get out of him.
Yeah.
That was rough, Keith.
Oh, right.
So if somebody wants to get involved in a program like this, where do you suggest they start at? Like somebody is interested in getting involved in therapy dogs and working with therapy dogs.
So, as in seeking out a visit, seeking out therapy, or training their own dog?
Train their own dog, like if they want to get into the program.
Okay, so there are several organizations. I'm slightly biased. I love Alliance of Therapy Dogs. If you go to their website, they have very clear instructions what standards need to be met to be a therapy team, what the process looks like, a background check, you have to pass your test, and that's both of us. Like Buddy had to pass his test and he had to be put through his paces and he had to be handled. And I had to know there's very strict regulations of like what you do on a visit, what you do on a therapy visit. And so I had to know that as well. So you go through that, and then you have a tester observer team that supervises 3 visits for you. So I would recommend anyone to go through Alliance of Therapy Dogs, and I would just go to their website. It's allianceoftherapydogs.org.
You put it
And-
in the description.
Yeah. So I know you're just getting set up with Buddy, but if in the future, if people want to get a hold of you, we'll have your email address in the description, but you're getting set up with like
Perfect.
the numbers and stuff, right? So that in the future,
Yeah.
once we get that information, we'll get it out.
Yeah.
So again, Buddy has one more visit. I'm sorry, or he
But he has one more visit. One more
When's
visit
that?
on the 17th, and then on the 17th.
Okay. So after
Yep.
the 17th, he's good to go.
He's good to go.
All right. Sounds awesome. Anything else you wanted to talk about the program, or?
Not off the top of my head, unless you guys have any more questions.
Is that
No,
a
other
question?
than what not a question, but one of my favorite Facebook groups or Facebook pages is the Asher House. I don't know if you watch the ad. Do you ever see the Asher House?
No, what is it?
Oh, just as soon as we go off, just go on Facebook and put the Asher House, and you'll fall in love with the channel. I'm telling you.
Is it a bunch of dogs?
He rescues hundreds out in, I think it's Utah, on a big, huge
my
piece of
goodness.
property. It's amazing. He goes through all the rescues. They fly all over the country to pick dogs out. It's amazing. Check it out.
Oh my goodness. That is amazing.
Yeah.
I
Him and his
love
wife.
that. I love that. Well, I will say, in my very professional clinical opinion, dog is usually the answer to a problem.
Yeah, I find that to be true too.
Yep.
Amen to that.
All right, Mariah, we appreciate coming on.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
want to
you.
say a shout out to our sponsor for this.
We'd
We'd
like to thank our sponsor, FireCam, the one and only manufacturer of helmet cameras built for firefighters. For over a decade, FireCam has been hell-bent on making durable, heat-resistant cameras worthy of the fire service. But they don't stop there. FireCam also offers dash cams, body cams, drones, and more. Their new FireCam Blackjack flashlight kit is a must-have for interior firefighting. With 3 helmet cameras to choose from, the FireCam Mini 1080, the FireCam 1080, and the FireCam Onyx 4K, there's an option for every firefighter. Order now at firecam.com.
Oh, I see it. Go ahead, start my second.
Copy, requesting second.
All right, so welcome back to Third In, First Due podcast. We got our second alarm guest in studio here, Chief Deputy Fire Marshal for Allegheny County, Donald Brucker. Hello again, Don.
What's up, guys? What's
Oh,
up?
good to see
Happy
you,
to be here.
man.
Happy to be here.
So we got Dawn, DB, Bruck. Any other nicknames we got for you?
Don't call me late for dinner. I don't really care.
So if anybody's watching, you got any questions for DB or Bruck, just throw them out there in the chat and we'll get them answered. But so let's jump right into it. You want to talk about, so my first question to you, can you explain the difference between PTSD, what we used to call it, and now calling it PTSI?
Well, one is a D being disorder and one is I being injury. And they're really trying to push themselves away from the disorder more to the injury because it's looking like it's a treatable injury, right? So disorder, I don't want to get into the weeds with that, but disorders in the pharmaceutical world equals so many things. An injury, like it truly is something that can be healed. I don't necessarily believe that anybody could be 100% healed, but there's definitely a healing process to post-traumatic stress, without doubt.
This is our first comment already from some guy named Tyler Brucker. He's asking, why do we even let you in the studio?
Yeah, that name sounds familiar. That name sounds familiar. He's a good kid when he's sleeping.
Hey, Don, before we go any further, can you give just a quick little intro to yourself? Like, and how you started,
Absolutely.
Always mean to ask that right up the beginning.
Nice,
Yeah,
Always forget.
I'm glad somebody's looking out for me, brother. So yeah, I'm in my 39th year in the fire service, and that makes me feel old. But I know there's somebody in close proximity to us that has more than that. I'm not going to mention names, Dan. I'm 27 years into the Allegheny County Fire Marshal's office. I look back at the career that I have, and very grateful for the people that helped mentor me on the way. In many levels and many aspects of the fire service. And, a lot of the people that I would count as mentors as I was growing up are no longer with us. And that's another hard hurdle to get past. But you count yourself fortunate in the time you spent with them. And it's, so cliche that, we really value people, unfortunately, more when they're gone than we do when they're here. And I think that's a challenge we have, right? So it's a little bit about the fire service career, but when we talk about mental health and wellness, what we do in the fire service is inherently dangerous. We know that. Everybody can relate to that. We see things on a more reoccurring basis than any average human being is going to see or is going to be exposed to. But then when you get into a service like fire investigation, where you're taking the fire scene that is now under control, and then you have to figure out what happens. And a lot of times, we have critical injuries and unfortunately death. And those deaths can be anywhere from children to adults, to the elderly, to multiple people at a scene. It eventually starts to work on you, right? And I pride myself with looking at it professionally, and I guess I need to explain that a little bit more. So when we're doing a fire investigation, especially into a scene where there's a death, I look at that as another piece of evidence, right? So we can gain some knowledge from every aspect of that person's movement, right? Whether it's where they're found, what they're found with, how they're dressed, maybe statements they made on a phone call prior to their death when they call 911. And we oftentimes even go beyond that, where we're down at the postmortem examinations at the medical examiner's office, where there's a whole nother layer of forensic evidence that can be derived from the postmortem exam. But then you start to realize that, hey, these are people just like I'm a person. And depending on the age and the time in your life where you're at, I'm certain we can all relate to that, where it starts to ding the bell. Like, hey, that young girl that was killed in this fire was the same age as my daughter or my niece or my next door neighbor. And then we start to really draw those parallel lines. And then the difference is, how do you process that? Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question. You guys have been in the fire service a long time as well. What do you remember from your early days of training that help you deal with the stress of the fire service and everything that comes with it?
What do I remember my early days of training? Suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up,
Yeah.
right?
Suck it up.
I thought drink.
Yeah, and
Well, I mean, that was
yeah,
a big part of it.
absolutely.
That was actually a
Right?
big part
Social
of it.
drinking, right? Let's get this behind us. Is
Right,
drink it away, and
right,
but guess what? You're never gonna truly get rid of it, right?
right.
So the problem is, it's like we use so many different analogies when we talk about this. We talk about a backpack, right? Just you keep throwing a rock in your backpack, keep throwing that rock in your backpack, or you have a file cabinet and you put your stuff in the file cabinet. Or you have a garbage can, you keep throwing stuff in your garbage can, and then before you know it, the garbage can and the file cabinet are overflowing, and people are walking all through your shit. And you're like, what is going on, right? And if you have that trigger, and I think we all can relate to what a trigger is, right? It's those things in life that make you nuts, right? Or that sets off some anger, emotion, right?
What, the biggest part of that, and I'm no expert in anything, but you don't realize you're doing it. It happens so subconsciously in your thought process, in your daily life, not on duty. And the only people that really suffer at that moment are the people that are nearest to you. So, and then that's when you have a good partner who's able to put you in a corner and say, that's it. Listen, you know what I mean?
That's a great,
and
Gino, that
if
is
you don't have that partner, and we're going a little bit maybe too deep. But
no, I don't think you are.
If you don't have that partner, somebody to just knock you around, maybe, put you back in line.
Well, and I think, until you're honest with yourself about the struggles that you deal with, let's level the playing field out right here. Everybody here, right?
Yep.
The four of us, we all have something in common. It's all based on mental wellness. Mental health and wellness. And you can think at whatever level you want, whether it's work related, home related, church group related, bowling club related. We all have things that either make us or break us, right? But we, in that stigma that we talk about all the time, we don't want to be broke. So we go through life with this facade or makeup on, trying to pretend that we're somebody that we're not. And let me tell you, we're pretty good at it. We're pretty good at that stuff.
Expert.
Right? Expertise. And it's really interesting when you start to have, and like we talked about before the show, the art of conversation. When we start to have conversations with each other, and it doesn't matter the age, right? It doesn't matter if you're a young person in the fire service, male, female, it doesn't matter. Just having a conversation with each other where you can say, hey, the two most important words in first responder community is me too. And you can't forget that. We all have struggles. We all deal with it differently. We talked about it earlier. I'm never going to know everything there is to know about everyone. Even my closest loved ones, we're not, and them about me. But it shouldn't matter. The thing that should matter is, how do I help myself first, right? I always like to ask this question because you get mixed emotions. Who is the most important person in your life?
Me.
It is. And that's exactly what it should be.
Yep.
Because if you aren't the most important person and you don't take care of yourself, you are absolutely no good for others. Absolutely no good. And let me tell you, I speak from experience as well. I know in the past I've let my family down. I've let my wife down, my daughters, my son. I know that. But when you recognize it and you can fix it, right?
Yep.
You become a different person.
It's one of the greatest feelings.
Oh,
Is when you can when you can first feel that recognition of, hey, I'm trying to get better.
Yeah.
And even if it's from a baby to, my partner or my daughter, whatever.
You say get better, and we talk about this a lot. I just had this conversation earlier today with a ex-ATF agent friend of mine, and I said, who is responsible for your physical and mental health in the first responder community? I don't care if it's a volunteer organization or a big metropolitan department. Who is ultimately responsible for your mental and physical wellness?
You.
Exactly. So we need, I know it's easy to blame chiefs and management and borough officials and all this stuff. But guess what?
Yep.
It all comes down to us. If you want to make a difference, you're going to make a difference a little bit at a time. We see that. We see it everywhere we go. You can't be afraid to talk about it. And you have to learn to communicate with people. It's not hard. And once that window of opportunity is open for conversation, it's just, like you said, it's a great feeling to communicate because you feel growth, right? We want to talk about, we have all the best equipment and we have, the best gold leaf and, 24 karat gold leaf on our rigs and all this other stuff. It's great. It doesn't put fires out, right?
Right.
You need to be good, right? You need to be good at work. In order for you to be good at work, you got to be good at home and vice versa.
It all starts with you. It all starts with everything about yourself.
It
Really.
does. And like I said, sometimes it's just a kick in the ass when you don't really know what to do, right? You're not really sure. Is there something wrong with me? And what is wrong with me? And we all know people, right?
It's the
We all have very good communication with very similar people that we all know that we can relate to. We do. We have it. And I think that's the interesting part of, the PTS and more specifically post-traumatic growth. And I think that's what it comes down to. So if I ask Gene, if I ask you, if I ask Dan, if I ask Keith, what is trauma? You're all going to tell me something different, right? Because trauma is trauma. Trauma is what trauma is to you, right?
Yep.
We talked about this earlier. We always, in public safety, we're always a one-upper, right? Oh, I did this, I kicked this door in this house fire and I did this. Oh yeah, I did that 4 times. Oh yeah, I did it here and I rescued, 3 people and a kitten. We always are trying to do that. I think it's just a nature of what we do, right? But that ends up turning into these mental tug of wars, right? And I think I told you guys earlier, I refuse to pick up a rope. I'm not going to pick up a rope and tug with anybody. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. Now that's me. That's DB today. DB 7 years ago, I'm going to yank you out of that chair with that rope, right? I'm going to be that miserable person. And I'm going to be the quiet person, right? And so many times, and I bet you we can relate to this, you come home from work and you're quiet, right? You just need some unwind time. Maybe you had a rough day, just quiet. And your wife, your kids like, what's wrong? What's wrong with dad? What's wrong? And there's nothing wrong, but what do you think the person on the receiving end of that quietness thinks? What did I do?
Yeah, exactly.
What did I do?
Did you bring home? Usually the comment.
Yeah. And I remember having this conversation with my wife, and she's a saint, just like, babe, here's what I need. When I come home, I need like 10 or 15 minutes of virtually nothing.
That's what I do.
No questions, no nothing. I need that. I don't even know if I probably never even told anybody in my family this story, so this might be news flash. So I used to wear, my wedding ring was a thin red line, right? So it was an offset one, right? So it wasn't in the middle, it was offset. I would make it a point before I got out of my truck in the driveway, I would take it off and flip it over. It was a mental switch in my head guess what? You're off of work, get off of work, go home and be a husband, be a father, be a good, a neighbor, whatever. And it helped me. I learned it as a, just kind of a little switch to do. So it's a mental note, right? We're always looking for little cues to do things, right? We all have it.
Mine's a song. I love it. I love it. I have a specific song, and I'll never reveal it, that I listen to on my way home. Not on my way. I'm never listening on my way. It's bad superstition to listen on the way.
There you go, brother.
Bad juju. But only on the way home, that song has to play somewhere in my playlist. Yeah. And it's a switch for me. And I try to be listen. Yeah. And we're all growing.
You're trying.
We're all growing.
Yeah.
So everybody slips up.
We're human beings, man. We're human beings. Like I said, just we got to get through this together, and there's strength in numbers. And I think we spend a lot of time arguing about things, right? I've listened to this podcast forever, and great topics on there, great comments. And I'm like, this is good stuff, man. This is what we need to do as a first responder community. We need to communicate, right? Non-biased. I'm not going to be yelling, screaming, cussing. Although I heard you cuss a couple times on there. I know you dropped the F-bomb.
I did, and I've
You apologize.
since, yeah, I went to confession.
church, yeah,
Went to
went to
confession,
church.
squared
That's
it
good.
away with the big guy, and
That's good.
we're good to go now.
I have a nephew that's a Catholic priest. I'll bring him in here. He can have a little exorcism in the basement of Dan's house. And smoke this place up.
So touch on Healing the Hero. I got the information up on
Yeah.
the screen.
So Healing the Hero, I got involved with this group. It's actually a really cool story. So if you guys out there have never looked into a documentary, it's called PTSD 911. It's a documentary that Conrad Weaver, who's a movie producer, put together, and it's all about first responders and struggles, and it's extremely powerful. And through one of his live podcasts, similar to this one, I heard this gentleman by the name of Dan Jarvis talking about healing the heroes and 22-0 and, tactical resiliency. And I'm like, it sounds really interesting, but, I'm kind of like the naysayer. Like, yeah, it sounds good, but there's no way that it's that easy. So I'm like, all right, I'll entertain it. So I jump into chat. I'm like, hey, Dan, how do I get you to Pittsburgh? And when the presentation was over, Connor's like, we're going to read some questions. So he read my questions because Conrad knows me. He's like, DB from Pittsburgh said, how do we get you up to Pittsburgh? He said, give me your number. I'll call you later. So I'm like, all right, I'll entertain it. So I put my number in there, and then, it was over. Literally 15 minutes afterwards, I'm sitting in my recliner and my phone rings. And I see a number from Florida, and I never answer the phone.
Yeah.
When I don't recognize the number, I'm like, I ain't answer. That's what voicemail's for. So I'm like, hello? And you're like, Dawn. I'm like, yeah. He says, Dan Jarvis. I'm like, what? Like it
No
just
way.
like it just blew me away. So we had a great maybe half-hour conversation, and then that led to more conversations, led into a bunch of other things. I started really digging into it and meeting other people from around the country that they work with. He's worked with over 3,000 Border Patrol agents. He's worked with sheriff departments, Seminole County, Florida.
Yeah.
So he's worked with that. There's a bunch of other agencies that are working in large groups. So it really piqued my interest. So I started to dig in. I started to learn. A bunch of time went by. Long story short, Dan and one of his business partners came up here to Pittsburgh, and they trained 14 clinicians on the protocols and how to run it. So we currently have 14 people in Pittsburgh area that can do this, right?
Oh, okay.
And it's really interesting how it works. And if you want me to sum it up for you, and it would take me too long I'd have to draw it out, and I don't draw very good. I told you, anything I draw good as flies. So I want to tell you that it disconnects trauma from emotion. So people hear that, they're like, oh, I don't necessarily think I want to forget that. You're never going to forget trauma. It's right. Newsflash. It's never going to go away. There is no magic wand, right? But when you can disconnect that trauma, i.e. triggers, on the reaction, like when you're driving down a street, did something bad happen to you? I can relate to that. There's other people in this room can relate to that. It's going to lessen that level of reaction. And before you know it, you're going to start to learn more about yourself and how to process it. You're going to learn those triggers. Everybody listening and everybody that will be listening to this knows what triggers are. Do we need to, everybody got them, right?
Yes.
Some of us have multiple ones.
And
This guy right here.
But some people don't even know what their trigger is.
They don't know what their trigger is.
That's the growth
Yeah,
part of it.
that is the growth part of it. So, I try to be forthcoming with this stuff, but not overbearing. So when I offer some suggestions, hey, I have something that might be able to help you. Do you want to try it? And, it doesn't. I think we can talk about it.
Yeah, I'll
it
take
doesn't.
sorry.
Yeah, there we go. Give me 3. It doesn't cost you anything other than your time, right? So what truly do you have to lose, other than a whole bunch of weight of just everything weighing on you and dragging you down? And when you go through it, the common follow-up conversation is, I remember like 2 days went by after one of the sessions I went through, and one of the coaches called me and said, how do you feel? I said, I feel lighter. Like it's weird. Like you feel this weight lifted off your shoulders. There is no more that pressure pushing down on you, because it'll get you, man. And let me tell you, if you don't think for 1 minute that your mental health will affect your physical health in many levels, cancer, illnesses, it's crazy how it all works. So if you can help yourself and others around you, because we talk about, I think Dan and I were talking about before, vicarious trauma. We come home and we talk about all this stuff around people because they're kind of interested in what we do, but we're inadvertently traumatizing them.
Yeah.
And, as yourself as a dispatcher, you're in there, you never have closure to nothing. So how are you supposed to get past that when you hang up on the phone with somebody who was in distress, right? So there's a lot of components to this that I think that we can all learn as a first responder community. Fire police, EMS, corrections, what else we have? Crime scene folks. I mean, I've got some of those folks going through these, protocols too, because you don't know how to deal with it, right? You don't know what to do because you don't really know what's wrong, or is there something wrong? So,
And for anybody
Yeah.
go to that website too, just you had mentioned for us heathens out there that see it, that there's a religious component and there's a non-religious component.
Yes, there's a religious component and non-religious. So like I said earlier, I'm an open book, born and raised Catholic, right? But I am way more spiritual of a person than I am religious. And I didn't want to go through the religious component. I just, not for any, like, if you ask me why, because I didn't want to. It's nothing hanging out there that I know of, but I felt more comfortable. Like when I was born and raised in a Catholic family, I remember, well, we have to go to church here. We have to do this. You have to make your communion. You have to do, and I'm not knocking it, but I think subconsciously I don't want, it was almost a trigger, really.
Well,
it was
yeah.
bringing back this stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just don't want that. And will I try it in the future? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But I like,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm same as you, a born and raised Catholic. I'm more spiritual. I am a little religious, because obviously just my inner belief,
Yeah.
from growing up.
I can respect it.
But the only time I've ever felt a priest's presence that made me feel lighter was a Serbian priest, my wife's Serbian priest.
Oh, wow.
And we still have a great relationship. Comes over once a year and blesses the house.
Yep.
And when he leaves, I feel better.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
really a
It's
weird
that
feeling.
spiritual religious connection.
Yeah. So I have both, really. But yeah.
Listen, I was, again, born and raised in a family, 6 kids. I was never taught the difference between color of skin, sexual preference, religion, ethnic. I was never taught that. It wasn't a thing because it just wasn't.
Right.
And, I was born and raised in Forest Hills. And a bunch of our extended family lived in the area. We're always around it, Polish heritage, German,
Right.
all this stuff
I'm
coming
right
in.
with you.
And we had all that. So, I'm pretty confident that my family is the same way. They don't see a lot of that. And I'm fortunate, right? Because again, I'm no better than nobody else. I already know that, and I'm not afraid to admit it. But if I can help you through something that you're going through, even if I can just sit here and shut up, which is hard for me to do. I like talking and I like communicating, and it's not disrespectful, but it takes me some time sometimes just to shut up and listen.
Yeah. I just sent out a text to a close friend who is jumping into a new venture in the fire service, and tell him, hey man, I'm here. I know
That goes a long way.
We're not very close. We never were like
It's
hangout
okay.
buddies or whatever. But I told him and I'll never say names or anything.
Yeah.
If you got something on your mind, hit me.
You
with
remember
it.
that.
Hit me with it.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Text, phone call. I don't care.
Yep.
So I just want to say, Philip Schmoes. So my brother from Penn Hills or Forest Hills. I'm sorry. Yeah. Philip.
Yep.
And then just I want to give a shout out to the Weight We Carry podcast, Bart there from the 911 Center. He
man.
said that he went through the protocol. He says it was amazing to go through. It was good to work with Dan.
Bart's a good egg, man. Good
I
egg.
just saw on Facebook. I don't know if he was leading this program or was just involved in it, but they were doing a suicide awareness or recognition at the 911 Center.
And they had a great turnout. I was just unable to make it, but props to Bart and his wife, man. They got it going on.
Yeah,
They
that's
do.
great. So tactical resiliency.
Right.
So I got that information up there. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and it's very, very similar. It's run by the same group of people. It just has, a little bit different education to it and different. I always want to say it's therapy. It's not even recognized as therapy yet because it's still being scientifically based, supported. And like I told you earlier, we had Dan come up and he did, I think it was around 30, 35 brain scans of police, fire, EMS dispatchers, crime scene folks a couple months ago. And what that comes down to is you put this cap on, has all these like wires on it. They ask you a series of questions. They get you to go through a couple screens. It's really cool. And then it provides you a 3-dimensional map of your brain, and it will color code the traumatic parts of your brain. Any kind of trauma, it doesn't matter. It depends on where it's at in your brain. So you get that, right? And then they run you through the protocols, and then they're going to come back up here after a period of time. They're going to run you through the protocols again. They're going to re-brain map you. You're going to physically see it, right? That's what they need to do for a scientifically based methodology and moving forward. You have to base it on, I don't want to say repetition, but scientific methodology. And that's what they had to do. So Dr. David Hagedorn is very well known across the country, actually beyond just the United States, for this brain scanning method. It's not that new per se, but it's really being used post-military folks, right? And first responder community with a lot of success. So I'm going to keep it going. I think Dan's coming back up here maybe in about a month and a half. Start remapping.
You know, I just something came up to me. You know, when you on the career side, when you retire, we don't have that would be a good resource for a recent retiree. Like, hey, this is part of not a protocol, we would say, but like this is what we strongly recommend within a week of you maybe sitting down or however.
Part of an out briefing.
Yeah, and it's almost like a decompression, you know, because basically you're just. I'm not saying you're getting kicked out the door, but listen, you get stopped talking about, you know what I mean, that person, you know, no matter how impactful they were on the job, you know, they retire. They're a retiree now. So I think that might be an avenue.
You work your entire career and you plan for retirement, right?
Right.
We get all involved with our financial stuff and we got to get all these ducks in a row. But what about the investment in your mental wealth?
Yeah.
That's the thing that a lot of people don't think about. Right. They retire, then they're like, oh crap, now what? You know, listen, I remember when I first started, and there are 2 guys that, you know, definitely helped me along, right? Mikey Lyko, Gene Stouffer, great guys, and they're both retired. And, you know, it's interesting, like, did they plan for their financial stuff, right? And more importantly, their mental wealth. I mean, like, how do you process that when you're done?
It's tough.
And how do you move forward? And how do you either you stay connected to the service or you don't stay connected to the service? Yeah, I think it's a culture shock for a lot of people. They don't know what to do.
You know, the suicide rate of retirees in the career fire service.
It's high.
It's very, very high.
Very high.
Barbara's also asking about if there's a way to get Dan back out to do another class. Maybe you guys can.
You know what? We're talking about that. I know they're putting in some grant money, and the tactical resiliency course would be phenomenal here in Pittsburgh. So we are working on that, Bart. I got you.
The other shout or the thing we're going to talk about is Travis Howells.
Travis Howells. So Travis Howells is a great person, man. Let me tell you. For those of you who don't know about him, you can Google him, right? Travis and Howze. Create Your Own Light. He has a podcast, has a book. The book is phenomenal. And he was ex-military, right? Or I should say he is ex-military. And he was a firefighter and police officer. And when he was in the fire service, he was a firefighter in Charleston, South Carolina, during the time of the Sofer warehouse fire and collapse. It killed 9 of his buddies, and he was close to all of them. Yeah. He was off that day, came back in, and was brought back to the scene for body recovery. And Travis is coming up. Somebody in Westmoreland County sponsoring him. He's coming up, I think, sometime November.
Yeah, so I got the QR codes on the screen. The one on the left takes you to his website. The one on the right is actually going to take you to the registration for that class.
He is, let me tell you, he is a powerful speaker. If you are easily offended like Gino, you don't want to go, right?
I first heard him on, I was not introduced to him, but found out about him was on the Sean Ryan podcast.
Yeah.
And how impactful, and his story is just, you can't, he can't write a book.
Yeah.
That well, I mean, it's and luckily he came out on the brighter side right now, and everything's really going well for him.
He's down in the dumps a little bit right now. He either just had or is going to have in the next couple of days his third, fourth, fifth spinal surgery. I mean, he's a mess from all his years of
I'm not that up to date with him, but he had a very powerful message.
I text him at least once or twice a month just to check in. I mean, I become friends with him.
That's
right?
neat,
I become friends with him.
That's cool.
We actually we hosted him up in State College about a year and a half ago for our Pennsylvania Association of Arson Investigators seminar.
Oh, nice.
And people were blown away, just like, because it's some of the things we don't do in first responder community. We don't train enough with mental health and wellness. We just don't do it. Why? I don't know. I'm not casting stuff. I have no idea.
You'll get what I say here. He talks normal.
Yeah,
I like
you'll
saying,
relate.
I like saying that about that's a person I want to talk to. I want to talk to, and he does. There's no filter.
There's no bullshit.
There's no I'm trying to presentate. Give you this amazing He's just talking. I love it.
Here's what I will tell you. If you can make the time to come see him for, I think it's a 4-hour presentation, please, if you want to learn something about yourself and you want to teach your spouse or significant other about yourself, bring that person with you. Bring that person with you. And I was talking to Dan before the show when I first had him up here, Ross Township, 5 years ago now. I took my wife because she wanted to go, right? She's interested in the journey. And when we were leaving, she's sitting beside me and I can feel her staring at me. I'm like, oh crap, here we go. Like this is not going to end up well. Right.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just kind of, inside the DB talk. And I looked over and she's staring. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, you want to go to Starbucks? And she's like, no. I said, what's up? And she goes, nothing. I said, nah, I feel something. Like, what's going on? She says, I just want you to think about this. Everybody out there should be able to relate, right? If you can't, you need to start to learn to relate to this. She goes, now I understand you. And let me tell you,
wow,
I've never felt so inferior in my entire life. And I had nobody to blame but myself. And when you figure that out, and I tell Dan, it's my emotions spun out of control. Because I'm thinking, man, because I had the feeling that I let her down, like for years, right?
I can see that.
And then I started thinking, did I do that to my son? Did I do that to my daughters? Did I do it to my family, my friends, the people I work with?
You start questioning like every decision you made in the last 20 years of.
But guess what, man?
Yeah.
That was a switch. It was a turning point saying, guess what, man? You are the only one that can change this. You are the only one that can turn this around. And I work every day at it. And I know and I feel, and this is not arrogance by far, believe me, I'm a humble dude. I know I'm a better person. I know that. I feel it. I feel that through others around me. And I'm very proud of myself. And again, I think that we need to share that with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about this.
So he's coming to Latrobe, Greater Latrobe Senior High School. It's gonna be on November 8th.
No cost. Just sign up just so you're registered.
Looks like 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and it's sponsored by the Lloydsville Volunteer.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, I'm just telling you, if you can make it, please, you will not be disappointed. You will not be disappointed.
So before I start switching over to cancer, but before we get there, I just had a couple questions and your thoughts on PTSD.
If I don't have the answer you want, Keith, I will make one up. So go ahead.
So, but you talk a lot about your spouse and your kids and your family and stuff like that. Do you have any tips to like just what you said there about like she just finally got you when she went to that? That conference?
Because
you can do to help that along in your relationship.
Yeah, because I think we fail as I'm going to speak specifically for fire service. I'm not going to speak for any other discipline. I'm going to speak. We fail at understanding what's behind all this stuff. We're, like we said earlier, you're not taught. We still are not teaching the younger generation what I believe we should be teaching. And it's about, it's okay not to be okay. We've all heard that cliche, but if you know me, what you're going to hear after that is, it's not okay to stay there, right? It's okay not to be okay. I get it. We all go through it.
Pass by it.
It's not okay to stay there. And when you stay there, for whatever reason, maybe because nobody taught you how to get past it. Maybe nobody taught you what that weird feeling is you have. Think about the youth of today. We're talking about recruitment, retention. You know, I'm working with some folks at the State Fire Academy and Fire Commissioner's Office on developing some training that we want to put out there at many levels. And I think we just need to collectively come together, share that same common goal of, I want you to be well. I want you to be a great person. I want you to know when you're hurting and reach out to somebody when you are. And I want you to know about me. And I want to know that about you. Nah, I don't know about you now. That's a whole nother crazy egg.
You really want to crack that egg?
Yeah. And again, we need to look out for each other. And I don't think we do enough. We want to argue. And so many times on this podcast, I heard we jokingly say, you know, about everybody wants to get out there and fire aimless bullets, right? Here comes that whole tug of war thing again. Everybody needs to drop the rope. Just drop the damn rope, right? And just start focusing on the things that are
Explain
important.
that, drop the rope.
Okay, so we get in these tug of wars, right? Whether it's in our family or whether it's in the firehouse, and you know, I know more than you know more than me. I want to get this on engine. Well, that's stupid. Well, this is dumb. Well, you don't know what you're talking about because you only have firefighter 1. Why have firefighter 3? I'm a fire officer. And it's back and forth and back and forth. And we spend so much time, but what you don't see there, right, is all the aggravation you're causing, not only yourself, but everybody else around you, right? And you spend time and more time and more time doing this. And you're going to be walking down the street one day and you're going to feel this like boom behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be like, what was that? And you're going to walk a little bit further, boom. What the hell is that? And you're going to turn around and there's going to be a big ass triaxle dump truck behind you full of all your time that you wasted. And you're going to say, I wish I could get half of that back.
Yeah.
Half of it. So when you say drop the rope, you drop the damn rope. Just quit keeping score. What did we talk about earlier?
Q-tips.
Q-tips. Quit taking it personally. My wife and my daughters are so tired of me saying that.
You told that story.
That analogy,
Yeah, the analogy.
And again, those little things, man, just, you know, all right, we're in the service. Nobody really told us what to expect. Yes? Did anybody really tell you what to expect as a young, wet behind the ears firefighter? This is what you're gonna expect.
Police law. When I was in law enforcement,
That I believe.
but no, I was embraced by my older firefighters.
Yeah,
and they taught me how to be a fireman.
Danny, you remember back there when they were rubbing sticks together, how bad that was? But did anybody tell you anything?
Right.
Got it.
Yeah, they said get the kids some gear. And
Yeah, get them some gear, kick them out there, right? Yeah, we want to keep them moving. And again, I think we just need to keep moving on. Let's just keep trying to make everybody better around us. That's our goal.
So if you had any practical tips for agencies, public safety agencies, what they could do, I know you said, hey, you got to own it. You got to take care of yourself. But for your agents to take care of their personnel, any practical tips you got to?
I think we all need to step up and lead. You don't have to have a white helmet to be a leader, period. You don't have to, right? I would expect you to. I don't want to piss nobody off, but I would expect you to. You ever hear the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him thirsty?
Yeah.
I can provide all the training and expertise I want in this topic. Are you going to be open to absorbing it, practicing it? Here's what I don't want to hear. It's hard to change that. It's hard to do that. Well, no shit, right? It is hard, right? But it's only as hard as you make it, right? It's only as hard as you make it. And again, there's plenty of opportunity around here. I'll share this with you. Years ago, maybe it was around 7 years probably, I signed up for a mental wellness for first responders class at a therapy center in Shaler Township. And I get out there and I walk in. I'm like, oh, I know that chief. I know that lieutenant. I know that paramedic. I know that fire chief. There's 12 or 14 of us in this class. 1 day a week for 9 weeks, right? It was grant funded and cost us nothing. It was it was one of the best opportunities and experience of my entire career, because it taught you to be, one of my other favorite sayings is, be where your feet are. Just be present for where you, like we are right now. We are right here, right? Do we all have stuff going on at home, and are we worried about people? We're checking our phones. We all have that, but right now we're right here. And in a heartbeat, we can get called away. We could go do whatever we get called upon to do. And that's what we're going to do, right? We're not fixers. Here's what I got to do. We're not fixers. We're helpers, because I can't fix everything, but I can surely help you. I can surely help you.
Those two things changed my life.
Yeah.
Because you have to realize you can't fix everything.
Can't do it. Can't do it. Strength in numbers.
Physically or mentally.
Strength in numbers. Bro.
Yeah.
Strength in numbers. So
one more before we switch topics. So you asked us, me and Gino, before we start airing, about, if we ever talked to somebody who's asked somebody if there was, thinking about killing themselves, and we both said, yeah, we had. And you asked if they would have said yes, what we were going to do. Gino had something. He came up. He knew what to do. I said I had no idea. But I wanted to mention the number 988 that we got up there on the day table there. If everybody sees it.
It's referred to as the suicide hotline, right? And ironically, I just spent 2 hours touring Resolve Crisis Center down in Point Breeze. A friend of mine down there is a medical director, Dr. Jack Rozelle. Very, very smart man when it comes to mental health and wellness. Always willing to train and teach people and listen. He's a great listener as well. And I went down there with the full intent of, I wanted to see what 988 is all about, because the call center is actually in their building. There's typically around the clock 4 to 6 call takers, and that's all they do. They're taking, a variety of calls that people are struggling. And I wanted to see how that system worked, because I wanted to understand, I wanted to put a face to the name and a name to the face, and how does this all work? And it was pretty cool, right? It was pretty cool. So we got down to talking about the topic of, if you ever have that opportunity, and I don't wish it on anybody, but we're talking about this stuff, right? We're in this service of helping others. We need to learn how to help our own. So if somebody that we care about, and it doesn't have to be somebody at the firehouse or police station or EMS base or 911 center. If I ask them, and I'm concerned enough to ask them this question, do you feel like killing yourself? It's not hurting yourself, doing harm. It is straightforward to the point. No sugarcoating, no BS. Do you feel like killing yourself? And they say yes. The next question out of your mouth should be, do you have a plan? And if they say yes, will you tell me about it? I'm going to tell you more often than not, talking collectively with other people who've gone through it. They're like, yeah, I'll tell you about it. And at that point, what do? Good talk. See you out there. You can't do that. You can't walk away and leave them there, right? So what do? You got to dial 988, right? And this should be second nature for anybody listening here. Dial 988 and say, hey, my name's Don. I'm sitting here with a friend of mine, and he's struggling right now, and I want to work through this with him, and I want to put him on speakerphone, and we want to talk with you to see how you can help. And then you just do it. And then it depends on where that pathway goes, right? And that's how it's done. Yeah. I make it sound easy, but let me tell you, that isn't an easy thing. When you're dealing with somebody that is so far detached that they don't believe they have anything else to do with their life other than to end it, right? And you got to stop saying committing suicide. It's not committing, right? You say it. Do you feel like killing yourself? Period. And like I said, you have to have this plan in place, because I'm telling you right now, there's probably people listening and be like, I wish I would have known that. And again, I'm not trying to make it so simple, because it's not. Yeah, but you need to be able to go rather than walk away and like tuck them into bed. I mean, you can't just do that.
That the key is, like you were saying, is being adult enough to approach another alpha male, alpha female,
Yes.
and say those hard words,
Yeah.
because that's a relationship changing conversation. You know it before you even open your mouth. And so, that's just not something lightly that you can take. And again, the training and whatever the training you've had is the recognition, the early recognition.
And that's what you need. And that's another thing we talk about training on. What else we do? There's courses around, and I'm going to tell you briefly about one. Chief Lowe from West Mifflin reached out to me because he knew my interest in this, and he said, hey, I have some grant money and I want to do this training course. Somebody told me to reach out to you. Can you help me? I'm like, yeah. So first person I call is Dr. Sheila Roth. If you don't know her, she's been in the business for over 35 years working with strictly first responders. Mostly.
Okay.
She has a practice right now down at our old 911 center. She's down there, and all she sees is first responders.
Is she tied in with the 988?
She is not. She's tied in with CISM. And the post team for the post team police officer stress team, safety team for Pittsburgh Police. She's been around forever, and she definitely knows the business. And I hate to call it a business, but it is a business. She is a true professional, and there's several other. I've met so many, over the last couple of years. But my point to that is, I say, Sheila, they want a class. Let's do a class. So they did one. She did an hour on self-awareness, because you need to know that.
Yeah.
And then, how do you process things and what is unusual? So we get it set up earlier this year. We go over. My wife's like, hey, I want to go with you. I'm like, come on, let's go. All right, let's go check this out. I hope we have a good turnout. I'm thinking, if we have 30 people here, we won.
Yeah.
Right? We won. We had 135.
Wow, nice.
And there's other agencies that want to do the same. It doesn't cost you anything. Doesn't cost you anything, right? It was a great night. I heard a lot of great responses from it. We got to just keep training, keep educating people around us. Bring everybody up, right? Don't look at it. The stigma is being broken, but we got a long, long way to go before it's truly broken.
Yeah.
Because it's still out there.
I was, in open conversation, in keeping that open conversation, and again, I hate to say it, but on the career side, when I first got promoted to deputy chief, we were hit with COVID. It was like 4 months after I don't know what it was, but it was a very short time after I got my promotion, and so it was isolation. Yeah. Except for a couple close friends.
We're still in that fallout.
Oh, we are. And what happened was you not that I didn't develop a leadership for my crew, but now it's just now becoming a little bit more cohesive, even more cohesively, because now we kind of, you loosen up everything. But I had a gap there, a year and a half, that we weren't even allowed in the same rooms. One would have to go in the bay, one would go in the kitchen, I'd go in my quarters. So it's not natural. But what I was getting at was the open conversation is now, even I don't care if you're a white helmet or if you're a part-time guy that just got hired last week, get in the conversation. Sometimes I'm going to tell you to shut up a little bit, but they normally know the pecking order.
Well, if you don't know how to start a conversation with this, listen, I'm going to give you some DB tips. You walk up to somebody, Keith, how you doing today? What are you going to tell me?
Good.
Yeah. How about this? What's your battery level at? No, what's your battery? 100%. Okay. 0 to 100%. What is your battery level at? Okay. How do we make it 60%? How do we make it 55%? How can I help you bring it up a little bit? But my point is, you ask that question, they have to quantify it. They can't say good. They can't say that anymore because you're going to hold them to it. And it's funny because I start spreading that around and I'll get people text me, what's your battery level at? Or I'll be, what's your battery? And more importantly, there's studies that said you need like anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes to change somebody that's really having some issues, right? Like, are you confident enough that you can talk to anybody about anything? I am. I absolutely am. So I tell people that I know that are struggling, if you need me and you need to talk right now and you need some assistance, All I want you to text me is I need 8 minutes, period. I need 8 minutes. And I'm going to tell you right now, I will drop what I'm doing. I will get my butt out of bed. I will go and call you and say, what's going on, man? How can I help you? Simple, right? That's only happened twice in probably 2.5, 3 years. But the sheer fact is they know they have somebody.
Keep your ringer on. Because
No,
you just said what to do.
No, listen, and I truly mean that because
Yeah, I'm
these
sure
are the
you've
people,
got that.
you don't say it if you don't mean it.
Yeah,
Don't
absolutely,
say
right.
it if you don't
Like
mean it.
2 a.m. rolling out, you know, hey buddy, let's see what's on.
I just
up to.
listen. I'll talk.
I
Anytime,
know,
man.
I know.
I
would
love.
never,
You know
none.
that I
would
love.
never.
I give my mom and dad a lot of credit for teaching me how to be a communicator, right? Because they were always good at communicating. You know, my dad was a house painter by trade. My mother was an oil painting and China painting instructor. She would teach out of our base. We had
That's
like
cool.
20, 30 people down there, you know, doctors, nurses, lawyers down there painting China. You know, it's really cool stuff, man. And, you know, you got to never forget where you come from,
Right.
Whether it's good,
Right.
bad, or otherwise, never
Right.
forget, right? Never forget where your roots are, because I think it makes you the person you are today, or it helps to make you a better person because maybe you had some of that stuff. And again, we're
Right.
never
You
going
don't
to
know what happens. You didn't know what happened. I got a guy come on a job 23 years old. What happened 10 years ago in his life?
How about
It's
this?
not affecting him right now as he's standing in front of me.
Have you
You know
guys,
what I mean? I mean,
have you
everybody's-
guys ever heard of the ACE score? The average childhood experience. Do yourself a favor. Anybody listen, look it up. And you can take the test yourself. And it scores from 0 to 10. The average score of the ACEs questions for firefighters and police officers is 7. Guess what other group of people have the very similar, almost identical score? Prison inmates.
I was going to say prisoners.
Seriously?
Yeah. And
All
think
right,
about it.
yeah.
And there's studies that'll explain that.
Yeah.
But we're no better than anybody else.
No.
We're no better than anybody else. People make bad
We're held
choices.
in higher regard in the community, absolutely.
Yep.
And we should carry ourselves like that. But
Amen.
other than that, no, I'm not better than a plumber or an electrician.
Step up and lead, man.
Right?
So obviously a lot of great information there, and we can go on and on and on with that. But I want to get to another. I know you got another.
I got to be
topic
gone by 8:30, so hurry up.
That's close to use
Text me
cancer.
that test. I want to take that.
I will.
Like,
I want to take a test too. But so cancer prevention, I know is close to your heart too.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a whole nother episode dedicated to that. But
Sure.
one thing I did want to touch on is the National Firefighter Registry. So I got that up on the screen if you want to talk a little about
I want to talk about it. So, you know, Dr. Kenny Fent is the one in charge of that from CDC NIOSH. It has been in place since I want to believe the end of 2018. I sat in a live podcast presentation that he did the other day for the Florida Firefighter Cancer Foundation. And I was extremely disappointed when they started talking about Pennsylvania. And again, you know, I'm not here to beat it into anybody's heads. I brought up on a staff meeting today I'm not going to beat it in your head, but do the right thing. And the right thing is spend the 15 minutes to initially do your survey. It doesn't cost you anything, a little bit of time. And then you're going to get some feedback, and then they're going to ask you some more of your. The hardest thing is estimate how many fires that you've been at here, how many car fires, how many. Listen, it's an estimate. That's what they call it, an estimate, right? Doesn't take a long time. I'll bet you total, all the time I had spent putting in there, if I spent an hour, that would be way longer than I probably really did, more like 45 minutes.
Mhm.
But it is setting the pace for future firefighters, for developing better testing. And who's the one that drives the testing you get in doctor's offices? It's not the doctor's office, it's your insurance companies, right? So we need to broaden that scope and understanding that when you get a colonoscopy done, what age do they say?
It's supposed to be 50.
Okay. But what if when we do this and we're finding out that, look at it, this demographics in this area, we have a bunch of firefighters between this age that have colon cancer.
Yeah.
Well, but they're lower than 45 years old. So you see what I mean?
Yeah,
That could swing that pen.
right? It is
Right.
right.
But that's why we need to do it. We really need to get, what do I say? I don't want to offend Dan. The more seasoned members of the fire service, We need to get them to step up and enter it in there. You know, I brought a bunch of handouts here. I want to post it. My goal is to be an advocate for the National Firefighter Cancer Registry.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I want to get
Whatever we can do.
I
to help
haven't
that
talked to
along,
our,
or-
yeah, I haven't talked to our PIO yet at the county, but I'm going to talk to her, and you know, she does a great job with social media stuff, and try to get it out there,
Yeah.
and you know, start to push it out.
So what we're going to do is, so I did the initial sign up. I haven't answered all the questions yet, but I got my initial profile set
Yeah.
up. It was actually really easy to do that part. You can come back to it. You can
Yeah.
save your progress. But you know, being Dawn's passionate about this for Allegheny County, so we figured we'd start you can go to their website and you can see what department's percentage of the members have signed up for the site.
Oh, okay. That's
So
cool.
we're going to
So
do.
it keeps like a live.
Yeah, it just updated this morning.
Oh, okay.
So what'd you say the number one department right now in Allegheny County is?
There's only, okay, so there's a challenge out there. We want to get gold helmet status, right? Gold helmet status means 50% of your membership is enrolled in the National Firefighter.
Okay,
Academy.
great.
On our meeting the other day, we were told that there's one fire company in Allegheny County that meets that. One, right?
I
One.
guessed the wrong one.
You
We
did.
had this
You
interview.
did.
We had
You
this
did.
conversation.
Hey, Kurt, he did. He said Mount Lebanon, but it wasn't Mount Lebanon. Challenge accepted. It's Fox Chapel. And they do a great job too. I've been over there for a couple of their wellness seminars, and they do a phenomenal job over there. They got their stuff going on, and it's going to be contagious. And firemen like a challenge, right? And I don't want anybody, you know, to go too crazy here, but let's step up and do this, and let's show areas we could do this. Right now in Pennsylvania, there's only 1,200. The number today, like 1,285. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
I think I could get 8 because we have a training session coming up Friday morning.
Listen, I think we need to keep moving.
You said that site it'll show you not just who got gold helmet, but percentage of the department. signed up.
Absolutely. It'll break
So-
it down by age group, by
Yeah.
sex, by
What
all
we'll
kinds
do
of
is
stuff.
we'll throw a little challenge out there by the end of October. Whatever department has the most percentage of their members signed up in Allegheny County, we will give them a FireCam from
Wow.
third due first in.
I love it.
Seriously.
Yeah, so let's start the challenge now. Get your firefighters to sign up and get your
Would we
fire
give it
department
to
helmet cam.
the person that initiated it or the fire
Yeah, we'll
department?
give it to the fire department. I guess they can figure out who it goes to.
Right, well, the fire department should do the right thing and then just.
You
give
want
it
to throw
them.
crap in the game
Just give
all the
it
time,
them.
Gino.
So yeah, the QR code's out there. It's real easy. Go to the site and get signed up. So I'll wrap up on that, but I just want to throw a couple things out there before we wrap up the show. So we got a big guest coming up on October 15th. We have State Fire Commissioner Thomas Cook is going to be joining us on the program. So it's going to be
I don't
pretty
know if I should
exciting.
wear a suit, a Class A. I'm not really sure.
I think
I'll
it'd probably be
probably have
Class
to
As,
throw him
yeah.
out a text, find out how I'm supposed to present myself to him.
So if you have any questions for the State Fire Commissioner, make sure you get them into us either
Not to-
via the live chat, or if you just want to email them to us at thirdduefirstin@gmail.com, and we'll make sure to ask the commissioner those questions. Just remind everybody our YouTube giveaway. We're looking to hit 500 subscribers still. We're at 354 on YouTube. So get over to YouTube and subscribe so we can give this camera away. If we don't get to 500 by the end of the month, we're going to give it away. So, but get over there and subscribe. And then reminder also go to our X channel, subscribe on our X channel, and you'll win a chance for a BJ1000 flashlight. So that's about it for us. Guess you guys have anything?
I don't. I hope everybody has a good evening. And are we ending now?
Yeah, we'll just want to thank Donald Brucker for being here. A lot of great information. One of the common topics we talk about is mental health, and we're going to keep that going. But we'll definitely get him on again. We'll talk a
he's
little
going to
more
be
about,
regular, I think.
a little more about cancer
Be
prevention
awesome.
too. So
If he's willing to do it.
Absolutely.
You know, something pops up.
I'm trying not to
Give you a
suck,
run.
Gino. I'm trying not to
Yeah,
suck,
there you
brother.
go.
all right, go ahead.
All right.
There, Gino.
Well, peace, everybody. Take care and try not to suck.
Stay safe and be well.
All right, everybody be safe. We'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m.